Being started thing. Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I am your host, Barbara Gullen, talking to you from the chilly neighborhood of Kansas City, rejoicing in the fact that pitchers and catchers reported to spring training yesterday. And with me in the equally probably cold is my co-host, Tony Shore. Hello there, Mr. Shore. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, we got snow about a week ago, or actually
Mhm.
just this past Saturday, we got about 5 inches. But now we have the cold.
Yes.
When I woke up this morning at about 6 a.m., it was 3 below.
Jeez.
So,
We are not that cold, but we are going to get darn close over the next few days.
yeah, it's another cold snap here. And so I assume it's there as well. It's covering the Midwest. So,
Yes, and there's supposedly more snow coming. And I can tell you collectively, as Kansas Cityans, we are over the snow.
yeah, I
Uh,
bet. Yeah.
Thankfully, the snow totals that they were threatening have been coming down over the last 24 hours, and I am totally okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. As I get older too, I like the cold and snow less and less. And not that I ever loved it per se, but I really am getting tired of it.
Well, now you haven't lived until, I mean, you grew up in Minnesota,
Yes,
didn't
I
you?
did.
Okay.
Yeah,
So when you were a little kid, did you like the snow and the cold?
loved it.
Uh-huh.
Loved it. Making snow forts,
Yes.
snowmobiling, skiing.
Yes. All the
Yeah,
things.
skating, the whole shebang. Loved making snow forts, having snowball fights. Loved snow as a kid. Even loved it all through high school. Really enjoyed the winters in Minnesota, and just probably over the last 10 years since owning. When you own your own home
Yes.
and you have to get out there and shovel every time,
Oh
and
my goodness, yes.
yeah, that gets
Yeah,
old, and
I'm
the
right.
cold gets old.
And yeah, and we don't get to take a snow day and build snowmen and then have hot chocolate and all of that.
No,
So
no. In fact, in Minnesota, you rarely get snow days anyway because you have
you
to have a
guys are
lot.
prepared.
You have to have a lot of snow here for something to close. I'm telling you right now. So
I
yeah,
believe that. I believe that. But like I said, pitchers and catchers reported to spring training
there you go.
earlier this
Back on
week.
track. Pitchers
Well,
and catchers.
yes, we will only mention the Super Bowl once to say they gave us a great season. Here's looking at next year. And other than that, we're just going to call it good.
Yeah, let's call that good. There's nothing else to see here, kids.
No, no, please go about your
There's
business.
nothing to see there. But
Yeah.
yeah, hey, go Royals, go Twins. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. This is like the first time in forever that they are not starting the season playing against each other.
Yeah, they usually do, and
Yeah.
they're not this year.
No, it's really weird. I was kind of hoping it would be either one location or the other. And if it was Minneapolis, I was gonna come crash and
Yeah.
see the home opening series. But oh
Oh,
well,
yeah.
so much for that. But alas, this is not a sports podcast.
No, in fact, there are many challenges, Barb, to
Mm,
saving for retirement,
yes.
especially for women in particular, right?
Yes, yes, and that's what we're gonna talk about today. A lot of these facts are things that we've touched on before. You know, you and I have done several podcasts about women in retirement.
Yep.
And of course, this month we've been focusing on that leading up to our Wine Women and Wealth event on March 6th up here or I guess for you down here in Kansas City.
Right.
So that's why we have been focusing on the needs of women in retirement and things that affect them more than men. I mean, it's probably no surprise. I am sitting here. For those of you online, I do have a printout here from a report that was generated by Goldman Sachs Asset Management,
Hmm.
talking about the challenges that women face in retirement. And some of the things that they focus on or that they identify as being main issues is, we have income differences. There is still a wage gap, And more often than not, when there is a caregiver needed for family, it is usually a woman who steps away from full time work, either retiring early or going down to part time, so that they can provide care for that relative that needs it. Although more men are starting to do that, according to this study. Um, and then when you add in that they have a longer life expectancy, that money has to last longer. And because they're making less, their social security payments are smaller
Hmm.
than their male counterparts. Just some of the things that play into why, women have a harder time or feel less secure in getting ready for retirement. Um,
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I mean, and there
mhm.
are a lot of unique challenges.
There are. And, one of the interesting things that I read in this study said that while most women agree that working with a financial advisor would help them, less than half of the women surveyed actually have a financial advisor or have talked to a financial advisor at some point.
Sure. Wow. So, working with a financial advisor, I've also read that women are more likely to work with a financial advisor than men, or likely to want to, but not
Mhm.
enough of them actually do it. Right?
Not enough of them do it.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of, oh, look at you finding that study. How cool are you? So, guys, if you're watching video, Tony just popped up the cover for this study, and props to him. I did not give him the link during the show prep, so he is fast on his fingers.
Found that one. Yeah. Yeah. This is a good study, too. I've actually seen this one. And Barb, this is fantastic. I mean, uh, the financial vortex challenges women face. I mean, um, and you're right there. And I know this is a passion of yours.
Hmm.
And so, and that's what leads to this upcoming event on March 6th.
It does.
And we'll talk a bit more about that. But there are many different challenges women face. What's something else that you want to talk about?
In this survey, it says that more than one quarter of the women that were surveyed have less than $50,000 set aside for retirement,
Wow.
which is a shocking number to me.
Right.
So, and when you add to
That is
that,
shocking.
three quarters of retired people are living on 70% of their pre retirement income or less.
Right.
If you have planned for it and you have no debt and you were planning on going to a lower income, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But if, on the other hand, you were planning on that income, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Or, as they said in The Wizard of Oz, a horse of another color. Because then at that point, when you're on 70% of what your take home pay was before, you are looking at people paying bills late.
Yeah.
Um, but more critically, delaying healthcare, perhaps not picking up prescriptions and taking the medications that they need to take
Mm,
as
yeah.
prescribed, trying to stretch it out. Um, it's kind of scary to
Yeah, it
think
is.
about that. And, when we're looking at this, 44% of women are managing their retirement savings on their own.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
if
that's
you
tough too, because women typically outlive men. If you,
They do. They
yeah.
do. Um, but most importantly, there are very few resources that women feel comfortable accessing to get that retirement education. Most people are relying on their 401k through their
Right.
employer. And the advisor that comes in and talks to you for 15 minutes, and aside from finding out when you are planning on retiring, knows very little about you. When they spend
Right.
that little amount of time with you and probably only do it once a year when it's renewal time,
Hmm.
you are going to have a hard time identifying what your real needs are, whether that be from an income side or what your dreams are.
Sure.
Um, you know, 32% of women actually seek help from a financial advisor or seek advice from them on this. And
Not enough.
no,
I mean,
because
everybody, men and women, should be working with a financial advisor, and couples.
right, because
Yeah.
the next category after that at 25% is friends and family.
Hmm. That's not
Not unless
almost
you're
as
related to a financial advisor who knows what they're doing.
yeah, if you happen to be related to
Yeah.
Barb, unless you're yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the problem right there, Barb. Is I think so many people um, aren't they're getting advice from the wrong places. If they are getting advice, it's from
Mhm.
a family member or a friend
Yes.
or a coworker, and they don't know their situation's different. And I've heard these conversations. I remember my neighbors, the guys got together and they're talking about, oh, when do you're getting up to retirement, when are you filing for
Mhm.
Social Security? Oh, you've got to file then, here's why. And this person was telling the rest of us when we had to file and why you
Yeah.
had to file at 62, because that's the only you're going to get more checks that way, and Social Security isn't going to be there, so unless you file right away, you're going to miss out. And I was like, well, I think everybody's situation is different,
Right.
and for some
Because
people
if you're still
62 is the age,
working,
but yeah, then you shouldn't. And this guy
no.
actually did work until he was 70, and he filed at 62. So
And he probably didn't get a check for a very
he
long
didn't
time,
he
or
didn't.
he didn't make much money.
He made a
So,
lot of money, and so he made a
yeah.
mistake. So he locks in a lower amount for no reason
Oh,
because
goodness.
he's still employed.
And for those of you listening that are wondering why it might not make sense to lock in your Social Security at age 62, reach out to us at area code 913-553-6222 and select the appointments and scheduling option. I think it's option number 4. It's been a minute since I've looked at the auto attendant. And get on the calendar to visit with either myself or one of the other qualified fiduciaries in the office.
Yeah,
We
and
can
there's
help
no
you figure
cost
it.
for that consultation.
No, no,
And
it is all
yeah.
complimentary.
Yeah, and plus, especially if you're a woman, it's harder for women, and Social Security is even more important, especially if you've lost a spouse or
It is.
you're alone in retirement. Don't file for Social Security unless you already have, without consulting with Barb and your team there, because you want to maximize it.
Mm,
And maybe your Social Security check wasn't as high. You want to make sure what you can get for spousal benefits. So there's so much going on there. But I don't want to get us off track, but I just know
yeah,
that that's an important part of saving for retirement is
okay.
when to file. Yeah.
All right, I'm about to ask you a loaded question that we did not talk about before the show.
Okay.
Loaded because you work
Hope
for a
I
financial services company,
hope I
okay?
get it right.
What is the top retirement-related service or feature you would want to see from your employer? If they could help you with anything. Do you want me to give you some options, some choices?
No, I know what option. I mean, I don't need it personally because I
Mhm,
have a financial
mhm,
advisor, but I would say what I would want the company to help with. I mean, unless it's actually, I don't think you mean additional benefits, but help
no,
you with, I think, overall retirement planning and more focus
mhm,
on retirement and having enough money for retirement and what to do when you retire. I think
mhm,
companies, you've got a 401k
right,
and you set it and forget it. And when you get ready to retire, they're like, okay,
mhm.
whatever. Right.
And that was actually in the top 3 of what women said they wanted
Okay.
from their employer. That was number 3. Number 2 was an emergency savings, okay?
Okay. That's interesting. Like where you could automatically, wouldn't it be
Right,
great if we got a tax break for money
mhm.
we put into an emergency fund
Kind of like a health savings
with
account, but
with a
we
list of
digress.
like new roof,
Yeah.
home repair, auto repair.
Mhm.
It would be come out tax free if you used it for one of this list of 20
Wouldn't that be
items.
cool? Wouldn't
Oh,
that be
that would be
cool?
amazing. Work on that, Barb. Get the
Yes.
government to put that in place and the
And the
companies.
the number 1 plan design enhancement that women want is guaranteed income for their life.
The guaranteed income rather than just this lump sum.
Right.
which used to be the companies did give you that. It was
Used to
called
be
the
called the
pension,
pension.
but
Yes.
the pension went the way of the pension, as I
It
like to say.
it did. So, this study, one of the overreaching themes from one
Yep.
point to another is that women are craving that security and wanting to know that they're not going to run out of money, wanting help, even though sometimes they are afraid to ask for that professional guidance. There's a difference between being afraid to ask for it and knowing that you need it. Honestly, I think part of it is that sometimes we feel as women that it's easier to go ask another woman
Hmm.
how to handle something or what they should do. Many, not all, but many men, when a woman asks a question like that, move into a situation where they're trying to help. I am not trying to minimize their effort, but sometimes it can come across as condescending. Sometimes it's like,
Belittling,
right,
mansplaining,
you
like,
should know this kind of thing.
oh,
And it's
yeah,
frustrating as all get out, you
yeah.
know? I mean,
You don't
you
want
know,
somebody talking down to you.
no, because I mean, like my first trip through school was electrical and computer engineering. So I have all kinds of fun when I walk into like an auto parts store to have somebody trying to explain to me what I need.
Yeah. Yep, and, men can be that way, I
Well,
will
and
admit.
women can be too. Okay?
Sure,
I'm gonna be fair about this.
sure.
But it can be intimidating, and money is a very vulnerable part of our lives.
Mhm.
We will talk about a whole lot of other things publicly before we will talk about money, and specifically our money.
Yeah.
I dare say it's almost more taboo than talking about physical intimacy.
Oh, yeah, I think nowadays, I think people are more open and honest and, straightforward with that because it permeates,
Mhm.
entertainment media and movies and television, but finances, personal
Well,
finance, no. No,
no.
and, it's like my grandpa Bob who lived to 101, it's like, if you approach finances or retirement planning or anything
Mhm.
personal with him, it's like we're English. We don't talk about these things.
Yeah, well,
He was 100% English, and he's like, yeah, no, we're not going to talk about that. So I
yeah.
mean, but for them, it's also intimacy. It's a stereotype. But I always tease because I'm half
Mhm.
English, half Irish, and yeah, so I've got the whole thing working for me there. But yeah, yeah, we don't talk about things like money, personal finance, or intimacy, Barb. You know that.
Right. I mean, never. I mean, outside of the federal government where everybody knows what everybody else makes,
Right.
it's a forbidden subject in some companies to talk about how you're compensated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, now there's a new law that's passed that in because my wife is the
Mhm.
director of career recruiting, director of
Mhm.
recruitment, and there's a law, and maybe it's statewide. I know it's here in Minnesota now, and it's brand new this year, but when they place ads for
Mhm.
jobs on these ad sites, Career
Mhm.
Builder, and all these different sites, they have to put the salary range for the position by
Yeah.
law. They can't put a job offer without a dollar amount attached to it, or a want ad. And
No.
so a lot of people are going to be finding out what that's going to change the face of things a bit.
And I think it's only fair that there be a salary range posted,
Yes, there
you
should
know?
be at least a range. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
sadly, I think that laws have been passed to do that because if a company was intending to pay, let's say, 50,000 for a position and somebody came in who was making 30,000 at their prior employer,
Hmm.
you could offer them 40,000. They think they're getting a raise, the company is getting a bargain.
Yes. Or instead of looking at the level of experience and basing it in a range that
Mhm.
is industry standard, they'll look at, oh, they're young.
Right.
Oh, they're really old.
Mhm.
Or, oh, they're a woman. Oh, they're a minority.
Mhm.
You don't want your pay range to be based on any of that. It should be the same range for everyone. And that leads to, women for years have made less than men.
They have.
And so that's another challenge that that leads to a challenging time saving for retirement, right?
Yeah, like we said, lower salaries combined with working fewer years,
Yep.
um, having to live longer
Yep. Longevity.
means that you have a real powder keg on your hands.
Yeah.
And, lower pay for fewer years translates into that lower Social Security payment. We
Yep.
have a lot of people now who are cohabitating and not getting married, so you can't necessarily access a spousal Social Security
You
benefit.
don't get the spousal benefits if you do that.
No, and it gets messy.
It does. But you know what? Before we go today,
Mhm.
Barb, see, we're talking about all these challenges that women face. People are saying, okay, so what's the solution? We have a lot of women out there listening. What's the solution? I know I have two words for them.
Oh, really?
Barb Gullen.
I had a feeling those might be your
Did you
words.
know? Did
I
you
did.
know where I was headed?
It was a guess. My solution is that women need to start speaking up for themselves and advocating for themselves
Yeah.
and coming to the table to get help.
Yeah.
And I understand if you don't want to work, you may have had a bad experience with a financial advisor in the past. Just like, if you had a bad experience with a doctor, you didn't necessarily stop going to the doctor, you found a different one. And if your last experience with a financial advisor wasn't what you wanted, you have every right to go and shop for another advisor.
Oh, yeah, for
And
sure.
one of the things I talk about is finding an advisor who aligns with your values.
That is a big part of it, and I know you want to do the same. You wanna
I
work
do.
with people, that you feel, are in a place where they will take the help you're trying to give them,
Mhm.
and they want the help, and that, you have to mesh, you have to get to know each other and rely on each other, and I know you love helping your clients. You have so many clients, from over the years
I
and work with so many people that you help in our community, but if our listeners out there want to
Mhm.
find out, hey, is Barb the one for me? They can set up a no charge, no obligation
Mhm.
consultation.
Yes, they can. Either go to our website, anchoryourretirement.com, or call us at area code 913-553-6222. And again, reach out to that appointments and scheduling line, and Amanda or somebody else from our team will get back to you if we don't answer the phone and get you on the calendar. Something else that we have to do as women is to normalize asking for help. Social media paints this picture of people who are out there doing it all. And newsflash, they're not. You're seeing their highlight reel. You are not seeing the everyday life. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with reaching out to somebody. And even if you just need a sounding board to think through some of this, or you're exploring the options for perhaps making sure that you stretch your income as long as possible when it comes time to retire, or finding out, no matter what age you are, what you can do to make up for some of that lost time. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And again, listeners out there or viewers, call 913-553-6222 and ask to schedule an appointment. You've got a lot of resources for them at bgwealthmanagement.com as well.
We do. We do. And, I have always had a heart for teaching. And in fact, when we do this Wine Women in Wealth event, in a little less than a month at the time we're recording this podcast, we're bringing in one of the portfolio analysts from Gradient Investments. Lisa Schreiber is coming down to tag team with me that night.
That's
And we've
nice.
got some great, we are supporting small business all the way around, from the catering to the wine to, hanging out and visiting with some other business owners that will be coming.
Yeah, it'll be
Uh,
fun.
we'll have some of our ambassadors, clients that have been utilizing our services for a while, and
Excellent.
capitalizing on it being just kind of a girls' night to find out what the trends are in the market, what's going on, and helping lay a foundation for you to have a retirement that is what you're envisioning it to be.
That's great. And that's March 6th. And
Yep.
for more information on that,
Go to our website, bgwealthmanagement.com, and go to the events tab.
awesome. Well, Barb, great show today. A lot of challenges for women out there when it comes to saving for retirement. We just skimmed the surface, but if our listeners or viewers have questions, they can pick up the phone, give you a call, or go to the website. Awesome show.
Thanks, Tony. It was good to see you.
All right. Good to see you too. That does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Gullen.
We'll see you soon.